What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hav here, one of your hosts from the Real Fan Review. Today with me, I got my brother B.
What's up, everybody?
We got my man Sanj.
Good evening, everybody. As always, it's a pleasure to be with you.
And we got our man in the chair, Al.
How's it going, everybody?
Absolutely. Yes, the four of us are back today together again to talk about that Loki season finale. Unbelievable. We'll talk about that today. Of course, with spoilers, we'll get you guys our thoughts of what's happening, what happened, and what we think is going to happen. And then we're going to talk today about some of the movies and shows that we've been watching to kind of give you guys things to watch over the summer, because it's been a couple of weeks, but we haven't talked about some of the stuff we've been watching. And then we also got the news of the week of Star Trek. We got our boy Sanj here with us today to talk about Star Trek. And letting us off, Sanj, what is the news that you heard about Star Trek this week, brother?
So the news has come out about the new Star Trek movie. So it was in doubt for a very long time. There was a script. Then there was another bunch of news where Quentin Tarantino at one point was attached to the project, and we thought we were going to get a Tarantino Star Trek movie, which I was ready for.
That was going to be his 10th movie?
Right, that was going to be his 10th movie. And then that died. And then now they finally set a release date for the movie of June 2023. What is unclear at this point is what universe it will be set in, because Star Trek currently has two universes. It has the original Prime universe and the Kelvin universe, which was created in 2009 with J.J. Abrams and his terrible movies. So it's unclear what universe it will be set in, because since the end of the last movie, Star Trek has had a renaissance on the small screen through Paramount Plus. Right? Yeah, so it started with Star Trek Discovery, and then Picard, and now they have Lower Decks, and then there's so many more series planned, as well as Picard and Discovery being renewed for more seasons. So it's unclear. So since we're having a renaissance in the Prime universe, it is unclear at this point where the movie will be set, where and when the movie will be set, and will it include the cast, the Chris Pine cast, Starship Enterprise cast, or will it be a new story with a new cast and a new ship and a new crew? All these things are now possible because of the way they've expanded the Star Trek universe. So needless to say, there is excitement in the Star Trek
excitement
universe.
For the Trekkies and us. Brandon, is there a preference for you whether we talk about the Kelvin, Chris Pine universe, or the older original Star Trek kind of timeline? Do you have a preference over one or the other, or you just want to see a good Star Trek movie?
I mean, to be honest, I just want to see a good one. To be honest, I never saw the older Star Trek movies, but I did watch, I think, The Next Generation, just like a couple episodes here and there, and I did like that. So while I didn't like the J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
We didn't like the J.J. Abrams Star Wars either.
Because it was the same thing. It was the same thing. I just feel like I think that too. I think Star Trek deserves a good movie for the time. Whether it's set in the future, whether it's set in the past, or whether it's set in the Prime universe, I think it deserves a good movie finally.
Yeah, man. And Al, let's save Brandon before he says Star Wars for a third time. And then someone beams him out of here.
I know, right?
Al, any preference for you, man, regarding those Star Wars? Oh, my God. I just did it, too.
See how hard it is?
You got two left.
Any preference for the Star Trek?
I don't know if I have a preference, but I think a cool way to do the transition, because I wouldn't bring back the cast from the J.J. Abrams movies, but I would do it in that universe, and maybe have it take place at a star base where you have Kirk, by Chris Pine, interact with the captain of the ship that they are going to follow, and then have that be how they transition into the new story. Because I think we've already played out the Chris Pine and those characters, especially when you have, I think, the character that played the engineer. I think he passed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, he passed.
Anton Yelchin.
Yeah. So instead of going through that whole snafu of how do you replace that character, I think this would be a good transition and bring back the nostalgia of that cast, but move it on into a new storyline.
Yeah, man, me too. I think I'm in the mode of getting a new storyline, a new way of looking at it, and new producers, new everything, because it's just something different. It deserves the respect of getting something that's worth watching on the movie screen. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
even though I heard the third one got a lot of great reviews, I personally did not see the third one. I saw the second one with Khan.
It was like
And,
Fast and Furious.
Yeah. So it was kind of a letdown there, especially watching my man Sanj not like it too much. I was like, oh, this is heartbreaking. So I mean, I would
don't
want
know.
them to start
I don't know.
fresh.
Do you
man.
remember? Do you remember how when the first one and came out in 2009? We went all the
Yeah.
way to the Bronx
Yeah,
to
we
watch
saw
that
it in
movie.
New Rock City.
Right, right. And you remember the drive home?
Wow.
Remember, I was just silent the whole
said,
drive home.
I need to
Like
process
they broke my
this.
brain. They really broke my brain. But for this new movie, one storyline I would like to see. So there's been a lot of chatter about a Captain Worf, either a Captain Worf movie or a Captain Worf series that the actor who plays Worf has been pushing for a very long time. He's been trying to get this made. So there's some real steam picking up behind wanting to see him in the captain's chair. And part of the story of Star Trek Picard, part of the pre-story leading up to it, that actually became canon, is that when Picard left the Enterprise, he took over as the captain. So we don't even.
wow.
So in the Picard series, the Enterprise hasn't even made an appearance yet. We don't know if the Enterprise still exists, but we know when it left off, Worf was the captain of the Enterprise. So if they do this fourth movie, the one way they could do it right, make it a Captain Worf movie, and they could do so much with that. They could tie in Picard and like a bunch of other characters, and really give the fans they need to do some fan service on the movie side. They've been doing a lot of fan service on the small screen side,
Yeah.
but on the movie side, they need to do something for us in the theaters as well. So I'm just putting it out there.
Absolutely, man. And listen, once we get some more news, a trailer or something regarding Star Trek, we'll definitely bring it up on the podcast here and talk about it live with the guys, especially with Sanj, man. And for our fan out there, Mo, I know you love
Big
it.
Mo.
And also today, man, we're going to talk to you guys about some of the movies and some of the shows that we've been watching to keep us kind of entertained and busy during the last couple of weeks there. We haven't really had a chance to do that because we've been talking about Loki so much and the different movies that have been coming out the last couple of weeks, which is great news, like Fast and 9, Black Widow, and a couple of other things there. So let's talk about some of the stuff that the fellas have been seeing, because I actually haven't talked to the guys on the side about some of the stuff that they're watching, especially Sanj. I haven't, really talked to you in a little bit there. But, Al, what is something that you've been watching this week or the last couple of weeks, whether it's movie or like Netflix, Amazon, anything like that, things that you could recommend to people?
Over the last couple of weeks, I've watched a couple things. I watched Tomorrow War on Amazon. I don't know if any of you guys got to catch that with Chris Pratt. Infinite with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, I did catch that. That was pretty good.
Gunpowder Milkshake. It's a comedy. It has all the actresses in that movie made me, I'll give a movie all the way till the end to give it a shot. But all the actresses in there are top-notch actresses, and it had like a Kill Bill meets John Wick vibe.
Gotcha.
But, nice. Okay, just if you literally have nothing else to do, put that movie on, but don't expect like a great movie. Just expect something where some humor here and there. Yeah. But the one that I was excited to finally get to see was A Quiet Place 2.
Oh, Quiet Place Part 2. Okay.
Yeah, I caught it.
What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, great. I regret not going to see it in the theater.
Yeah.
Because there were certain scenes, especially when they portrayed it from the daughter's point of view, where it went dead silent. I was like, even my house felt weird with that kind of quiet coming from the TV. So I only could have imagined what it would have felt like in a movie theater, seeing the in that kind of environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, kid. And just the story, John Krasinski, he's doing a great job with this series. and I could see a third coming
Yeah,
out of this movie.
definitely.
You know, because the way they're playing out the story, the way they have everything interacting, and even especially with the way the movie left off, there's definitely that opportunity. And I haven't seen a drop off, so I wouldn't say it's not deserving of a third.
Gotcha, man. Just really quick, what's your thoughts on Tomorrow War? I've heard a lot of like not so good things about it, but at the same time, what did you
It's a
think?
good movie,
Hmm.
especially the performances from Chris Pratt. Drawing a blank on the
J.K.
female lead.
Simmons. Oh no,
J.K.
no.
Simmons, kid, I forgot he had that physique. I mean, I remember years back, I think it was on Instagram, they showed a picture of him working out. And I'm
Working
like,
out,
damn.
yeah.
But he got back in shape for this movie, and damn, they need to show him like that in No Way Home. Bring that J.J. Abrams back to the
J.K.
screen.
Simmons.
Yeah, kid. But it's long. It's a little longer than I think it needs to be, but it is a good story. I just don't know how they're doing a sequel because I heard it got greenlit for a second.
Yeah.
I just don't know how they're doing that. I won't ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it. It just ends as a complete story.
Right.
Yeah.
So how there's a sequel, I'd love to see how they do it. The comedy is good. I mean, Chris Pratt, you know, he's going to deliver his
Right.
lines, but all the actors around him do so as well. The effects for the aliens are done well.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a good movie. You're going to enjoy it. Just know you're in for you. It's going to seem long. It's going to feel long. But it is definitely a good movie. I liked it. I enjoyed myself the whole time.
All right. And Sanj, man, you said you saw Tomorrow War as well. What were your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
I thought it was good. Same thing as Al. I mean, it's not like, anything great, to say like, oh my God, this is like movie a year or something like that. But it was great. It was good. It was entertaining. I enjoyed the performances by everybody, especially J.K. Simmons. It dealt, the story centered a lot, of course, around, the concept of time travel and stuff like that. So that's always like a weird, quirky thing when you throw in time travel.
Yeah.
But it's like a story about parenting and stuff, and not an idealized, view of parenting and how
Yeah.
how things can be one way and your perception of it, and then there's reasons for it, um, and then the redemption arc of all the characters, as a matter of fact,
Gotcha.
so I just thought that aspect of the story was really good. It tugged at the heartstrings a little bit,
Yeah.
father daughter kind of thing. So
Mhm.
it's when you have a daughter, it kind of
Yeah.
like hits you too,
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and I like the fact that there was a lot of science involved in it, a lot of good science as well.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Except how they do time travel, but that's besides the point. Um, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. So other than that, I've been watching Superman. Superman and Lois
Okay, on the
uh,
WB there.
on the WB.
Okay.
That series has been really, really good.
I heard it's surprising a lot of people.
Yeah, it's been really, really good. So they had a little break in between, but they're back now. Story's been progressing very well, so that's really good. My wife and I are continuing to watch what do you call it, Handmaid's Tale, because
Mm.
they're in the final season now. So and it's, oh my God, it's so dark. The story has, I mean, it was dark to begin with, but it's like it's as dark as A Quiet Place is silent. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
like that just gives you yeah, that it might as well be like, oh my God, you just gotta
Gotcha.
watch it, and yeah. Um, Other than that, I really haven't gotten a chance to watch too much else. I did see I did get to see Space Jam Part 2.
Oh, Space
Um,
Jam: A New Legacy. Okay. What's your
yep.
thoughts on that?
I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did the same.
LeBron did really well. He has some chops, as far as being a character on the screen. And then to leading up to it, we had the kids watch the original Space Jam, which I hadn't watched that movie maybe in 20 years. You
Uh-huh.
know, so looking back at it, like it was such a cute movie. You know, um but looking back, it really, it really made me think back to a time when Michael Jordan was so idealized, right? And like had that really, really spotless, wholesome, public personality, and they really tapped into that. And like 20 years later, I'm like, yeah, I know you're dirt, Mike. So now I know you're dirt.
Hey, Sanj, how about in Space Jam 2, The New Legacy with LeBron James, when they were at halftime and they were bringing out Michael Jordan?
That was awesome. Oh my God. I was waiting till we were going to talk. And like, but the thing is, as soon as they did it, I knew who it was going to be. I'm like, this is going to be Michael B. Jordan, But the joke that they made, he's like, damn, y'all couldn't get Michael A. Jordan, so you got Michael B. Jordan. I'm like, oh, man. They really did him like that.
Oh man, listen, I didn't expect it. I really, for a second, I thought they were gonna bring out the real Michael Jordan out, and I was waiting, and when they turned the lights on and it was Michael B. Jordan, I started dying laughing, man. I couldn't believe it. It was hilarious, man. But your overall, like, just a quick, like, what would you give that's new that Space Jam, A New Legacy? There, would you give it like you should see it kind of thing, or?
Yeah, you should see it and take your kids to go see it.
Yeah.
It's a family movie. And one of my kids is like a teenager, almost a teenager, and one of my kids is younger, so they both enjoyed it, even though
That's
the older
awesome.
one won't admit it. I was sitting there watching his face, and he was like laughing and enjoying it. But afterwards, he's like, yeah, whatever. Like then he turns back into a pumpkin as soon as the movie is.
That's amazing, man. B Dog, how about you, man? You catch any movies lately? Any shows that you're watching? I know you're big with the anime there too, as well. So, talk to me, man. What you been checking out?
I've just been catching up on all the anime. My Hero Academia came back for season 5, so that's on Saturdays. Boo, but it brings me back to like Saturday cartoons. So I was like, all right, I have a Saturday morning routine now where I kind of go through like, let's see, My Hero, and then I go to like Digimon and like some other nonsense. It's like Saturday morning cartoons all over again.
Yeah.
But I did catch Fear Street, the 3-movie like
Oh yes, yeah.
trilogy kind of project from R.L. Stein. So for those of you who know, R.L. Stein, he made the Goosebumps books, and like this movie is based off of his like young adult series of books. So like people actually die in these movies, which was very different from me when it first happened. Like the first movie opens up with a murder, and like because it's R.L. Stein, you're like, oh, like this person's gonna get away. And Maya Hawke is the person that starts the movie, and I'm like, oh, it's Maya Hawke. She's gonna get away. She's gonna have a bigger role, and then she like gets it, and I'm like.
You're like,
And then, like,
oh,
And
like,
just
okay.
keep stabbing her, and I'm like, this is R.L. Stein. It's my childhood. I'm like, she's dying on
Yeah,
screen.
you just killed your childhood, kid.
Just killed it, And so like, it was very interesting. It's not a rip, but it's a take on horror movies from the 80s and 90s, like Scream. Like obviously that was a rip off of Scream, from the first Scream.
Yeah, Drew Barrymore.
By having Drew Barrymore, having a big actress, and then killing them off, So the 3 movies are pretty cool. Like they have a 1994, a 1978, and a 1666. And it's all one story, but each movie delves into the story in a different era and kind of brings it back into the fold. So the first movie is in 1994. It follows a teenager and their friends, and like there's 2 sides of town. Like they have a shady side and like Sunnyvale, and all the bad stuff and all the murders happen in shady side. So everybody's treated like bad in this side. It's kind of like The Outsiders. If you ever read that, it's the same premise there.
Right.
So all these murders start happening, and they have to figure it out. And along the way, teenagers die. And I'm like, and there's a lot of deaths. There are pretty cool deaths in there.
Oh wow.
The story it's all right. I would watch it and I'd be like, all right. I don't think it was great. It was cool, I would say, to watch. There's just the way it rips off of, not rips, but kind of riffs off of other scary movies. It worked really well. 1978, they took a character that was introduced in the first movie and kind of said, well, this is what happened when I was a kid. and took us back then, and that story was cool. And then 1666. I don't want to give any spoilers away for that, but something specific happens in this time, and the movie kind of wraps from the story at that point. Overall, like it was fun. It was cool to see how they played upon other horror movies. Story is alright on the story. Like it was incredibly predictable. Like one of the characters, their last name is Good, so it's kind of predictable what's gonna happen with Mr. Good. Like so the movie itself, all three, I would say, if you have the time, watch them because it's cool to have some kind of like anthology kind of series like that. So pretty cool stuff. It's just good fun.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, in the last couple of weeks there, I gotten to watch I saw Space Jam. As you guys know, I just watched Space Jam last night, and I gotta say, man, I did enjoy it, man. I mean, listen, if you're looking for theater and the fine art of acting, you're not gonna find it here, but I did enjoy myself, man. You know what I actually liked also was when they had the basketball game towards the end. They have the WB universe in the background, and you see a couple of people. You're like, is that the Penguin? It's like, is that the mask?
Everybody in, bro. Like it everybody in there.
Dude, even Pennywise was cheering. So it's pretty good, man.
Did you see the joke though that came out? So when they were in what do you call it, DC World, and they were driving in the Batmobile, how Bugs was Batman and LeBron was Robin, and they were like, "Yo, even in a movie, LeBron is never the Batman. He's gonna be Robin." They were like, "Yo, they would not give LeBron a break." Dude, oh my God!
How many jokes about him constantly leaving teams?
Yo, and they put that in the movie, like
yeah,
they really like riffed on him in the movie.
Yeah, man. Listen, I thought the movie was pretty good, man. I'm not can't lie that I wasn't entertained. I didn't laugh at a couple of scenes there. My favorite is Foghorn Leghorn. He's I forgot where he was. I think he was in with the dragons. He goes, I said, winter's coming. I was like, I lost it, dude. Like 12 o'clock at night, losing it over here. I said.
I say so.
Another one is like, they told Yosemite Sam to shoot the ball, and he took out his guns and started shooting the basketball.
And they're like, yeah, we need to work on that.
Man, a couple of funny things. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I'm not going to say that people should see it like that, but I don't see why not. If you have a family, I mean, why not? Go check it out.
That's what I'm saying. Take the kids, go see it.
And then the other thing I've been watching lately is this show I just saw pop up on Netflix the other day called Manifest. And I got to tell you, man, it's got me and the wife hooked, man. We've watched season 1 pretty much the whole thing. I think we're up to like episode 15 on season 1. So it's been very entertaining. It's a reminder of Lost, a nice little reminder of Lost. I don't think it's as good as Lost was, but it's still entertaining, man. It's got me looking at people sideways. I asked my wife, how long would it take? 5 years? Is that enough? So like, if she thought I passed away, she'd move on in 5 years. Like really? So, but it's just crazy, man. The show's interesting, man. I would recommend people out there to watch because it is fun to watch. It's a pretty interesting show, man. But yeah, man, those are some of the movies and things that we've seen over the last couple of weeks and days there. And listen, guys, if you heard us here talking about anything that you've watched or liked, let us know below on the comment section or email us at therealfanreview@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought of Space Jam: A New Legacy. Did you enjoy the sequel to the first Space Jam, or how they did it this time? And if LeBron's going to win an Oscar for that acting. Yeah. I think I'll up on him, man. That's so funny.
The question out there was, if they do another Space Jam, who would we like to see as the NBA talent that they use?
That's interesting. Well, Sanj, I mean, you watch probably the NBA a lot more than any of us here. Is there some up and coming person that you could see taking over that role like LeBron and Jordan had? Because I personally don't see it at the moment, but is there someone you think that may be up and coming?
Well, I mean, there's always Luka Doncic.
Don't you dare say Trae Young, son.
Nah, I was not Trey Young. You can't put him in a children movie, bro. Like the stuff that the way he trash talks, you can't. Yeah, Luka, he can't. But Luka Doncic, he kind of has the, they're really touting him, in the league, and I don't know if they're trying to make him the face of the league after, because LeBron, he's winding down. He has another few years at a high level, but you can see that it's winding down,
Yeah.
for him, and we're trying to see who's going to be like the real, the next face of the NBA, and the way Luka's playing, he could be the next face of the NBA in that sense. But and he kind of, and like even when he does interviews and stuff like that, he really kind of has the personality. He interacts with the media really well. So his teammates have nothing but good things to say about him. So he might have that really big personality to be able to fill into those shoes if we do another Space Jam or anything like that. And it would be really cool to see one of the international players get that kind of shine.
Exactly, yeah. Because I was gonna say, for me, like I think one of the best players out there right now, besides, there really is no like real king to the game. I personally, like, I think like Jordan and LeBron were at certain times of their career, but Giannis, I think is exceptional, and I think he might be someone that could possibly do it. Someone that I'm looking at right now because of the finals with Phoenix Suns and Milwaukee's Devin Booker. It depends if he could step up his game a little bit more. I think he's someone that we should be looking out for in the future. Al, I'm not sure if you've been watching a lot of basketball lately, but is there anybody that stands out to you?
Nah, it's been a minute since I've watched the games. I mean, I just check out who won, who lost, the scores, and so forth. But other than that, watching a game, I wouldn't be able to tell you who has a good personality. Because that's what they're going to need for a movie.
Yeah, this finals though has been incredible.
Yeah,
so far.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing some more of those finals, man. When's the game 5 or game 6? Game 5 was last night.
Game 5 was last night, so game 6 is going to be
either tomorrow,
Tuesday night, because for some reason they're putting two days between all the games because of the travel. I guess because of the travel.
Gotcha.
But, is Yao Ming still in the league?
Wow.
Brandon, I knew not to ask you a damn thing about basketball, Brandon.
Shoot the train, computer blue.
Game. Oh wait. Going back to Space Jam. Remember Granny? Game. Blouses.
Amazing, man. All right, guys. So listen, man. Let's get right into the main theme for tonight, which is going to be Loki, episode 6, For All Time, Always, which is the finale to the season. I'm gonna let you guys know right now, we're going to heavy spoilers. Trust me, you do not want to break this news for you. You should watch it on your own for anything that happens or said or done in this episode, because it is the season finale. So again, if you haven't watched it, step off and come back. And here we go. We're going into the finale there.
Damn, you just went straight to step off, yo.
Step off. The first thing we're going to say is a freaking spoiler. So,
yes.
Let's just get right into it. Brandon, please tell me all your thoughts on the season finale of Loki.
What can I say? I was right.
Yes, you were. Wise
that was, I can't lie. Every 2 seconds were like, they were just kind of like anticipating something happening, and I'm just like, when's a Loki gonna pop up? Like, when's this happening? And the second they get to the open door reveal of He Who Remains, I was like, shut the fuck up. They're doing it.
Shut the front door.
They're doing it. They're doing it. I have to say that Jonathan Majors as He Who Remains was exceptional. Holy minute. The fact that 45 minutes of the show was spent in front of a desk, and it was incredible, and you didn't realize it, hands down. Jonathan Majors, incredible talent right there.
It was a
Yeah, man.
conversation. They had a conversation.
like a 45-minute conversation in which I can honestly say not a lot happened, but the way he just demonstrated himself in that breakout period of that, awesome, incredible.
Yeah,
And
man.
I mean, and he's coming off Lovecraft Country too.
Yeah.
And he did an amazing job.
Yeah, he got nominated as best actor actually for an
Nice.
Emmy. Yeah,
Good. Deserved.
definitely. And Al, man, I was gonna say the same to you, man. Listen, you know me. I kept my expectations in check because of what we saw in WandaVision
Yeah.
and here, but you guys kept saying, dude, they're just teasing it too much. It has to be.
Yeah, and it was, but that was to what you just said. Like that's why I was like, with all these references, it's going to be at the last minute. He's going to be like an image in the background, a fuzzy photo that they reference, as opposed to somebody that they have to go at. I did not think they were going to bring him in. Like
the
I had
first 5
lost all
minutes.
hope. I had lost all hope. I started believing your theory that it was going to be another Loki. I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? That's what they've been doing, just focusing on the character, making it the character. Kid, when the doors open and you see him sitting there, I paused it. Kid, I paused. I said, they're fucking doing it. I don't know if I was. I don't think I was ready for it. I said, no.
Yeah.
He wasn't ready.
I went out to the TV so I could see a clip. I go, that's it. That's him. That's it. Oh shit.
As if they weren't gonna show him. They're like, no, I gotta see it up first.
I said, no, maybe it's just somebody that looks like him. They're throwing us off. And then when the scene plays out and it's the variant, because he even says my variants, and throughout the episode you hear him talking about them.
Uh-huh.
I liked the version they brought into the show, but Brandon, you probably know better than I. Immortus, or what was this one? It's He Who Remains, but
He Who Remains.
And
But he dressed up like Immortus. Yeah.
Oh, is that what? Okay.
He had the little medallion and the cloak and stuff like that. So.
I like that they did this version of him in the show because he's technically not Kang the Conqueror, so we can still get that version in Ant-Man. So I like the fact that they knew they had a lot to use and used it. Still gave the fans what they wanted without giving us the version, and then hinting to that version at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I gotta say, man, I was pleasantly surprised when, like you guys said, when that elevator door opened and he's just sitting there hanging out, and I'm like, they're fucking doing it. I just started smiling because I didn't expect it. It's one of those great surprises that you get, sometimes that happens in the movies and stuff like that, because now they ruin everything in the movies. They put they put Spider-Man on the commercial. Yeah, they put it on the trailer, man. So it's just like when I saw, Jonathan Majors playing Kang the Conqueror, I thought, but it's really He Who Remains or Immortus. I was like, whoa. And then just listening to him act and seeing him act and listening to his, how he spoke and how he was detailing things, which we will get into. We're losing our mind real quick. Just let me go. But I was just so pleasantly surprised. I had to watch it twice that same night. It was just insane, man. Sans, your thoughts on the season finale there, that episode of 6, For All Time Always?
So it's pretty much the same as what you guys were doing. So I had kind of given up, and like I almost expected them to do where it was another Loki, because of the fact that they had been doing so much with the Loki. So they they kind of did the old rope-a-dope, me being the dope. So, but yeah, I really was expecting like another Loki to be the one pulling the strings. And then when they came out with Jonathan Majors being, Immortus or the one He Who Remains or Kang the Conqueror, whatever, that was really, really incredible. And then, the whole scene of them sitting there with him at the desk, and when Sylvie keeps trying to kill him, he's like, I know everything that's gonna happen, so he's like, we're still doing this,
Yo, Sanj, you brought out the script.
I know he's like, look, here it is. But then Sylvie and Loki, they played their parts really well too, because the look of shock and awe on their face when they realized like they were just so powerless against them, and like we're so wrong about everything that's going on, like then they're like, shit, we fucked it all up, like again, But no, that was intense. It was really intense. Like all the information, and like you, I had to watch it a couple times to really understand everything that was going on. You
Yeah,
know, so
absolutely, man. And then Brandon, man, let's just go talk right about the whole entire episode there. I think one of the interesting things that I saw was just them how they keep it so real in the MCU. You know what I mean? Like that you see that Sylvie was on this mission the entire the entire series. She's been looking for whoever is running the TVA because they destroyed her life. And when they get to the door, she doesn't even want to knock on the door. She starts hesitating. She's like, she had to breathe, everything like that. But as we get going on here, I knew we were going to get some kind of temptation, and we get that from Miss Minutes popping up on the screen, scaring me half to death. What'd you think about like Sylvie's like hesitation to go in there, and even them denying the fact that our Loki denied a chance to rule?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that it's kind of like a life thing where if everything you want is behind this door, like how quick will you be to open it? Because if you open this door, everything you ever wanted is here. What else can you have after that? Well, is anything worth it after I open this door? So like it's a big euphemism there. And as we just said, like, this was her entire life's goal from a kid. So that hesitancy, that was really cool to see that she wasn't just like, I'm going in there and I'm killing whatever's behind that door. It was, well, what I've been looking for is right there. And all I have to do is open this door. And on our Loki's kind of end of it, it was interesting to see how fast he has changed as a person through meeting a couple different people, through meeting Mobius, through meeting Sylvie, just by the relationships that he let himself kind of forge and make and followed along with, he was able to change as a person. Like, we talk about episode 1 and how big of a moment it was that he had seen his whole life. And we kind of feel like that's what changed him, was seeing his mother, that he was the reason his mother died. But I also feel like it was his interactions and forging relationships with Mobius and Sylvie, because those are things he never really let himself do, throughout the movies. We never seen him actually forge relationships, other than in Thor Ragnarok, he let himself forge a relationship with Thor, and that led to a sacrifice. So for us to see how Loki could be when he opened up his heart and his kind of generosity to kind of interact with people and then kind of feel on an emotional level how big of a person he can actually be. Other than denying the throne, it was less about him denying the throne and more about ensuring that Sylvie was okay, and trying to help her make the correct decision despite the hurt and the loss and, the power she could gain from the situation. For him to make that big of a decision to help somebody else instead of himself, that was huge and very un-Loki-like. So that was a great moment there for Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, man. And I know, Al, you're really big on consistency throughout movies, right? And consistency in the characters and things like that. What was your thoughts on Loki's transition from being the person that he was at the end of, Avengers Part 1, essentially, and then now who he is now with Sylvie and how he's handling things?
I thought they did a good job because it never came off as a break in the character. Like, it never seemed out of place. It seemed the way he had been throughout the show. First with his bond with Mobius, you saw him creating a friendship with Mobius and treasuring that friendship. Like, you saw him getting upset when he found out that the variants didn't, when everybody from the TVA didn't know they were variants. And you saw his concern when he said, do they know? Or they don't, when he basically said they don't know. So leading up to him now, expressing this concern and protection for someone he, undoubtedly was falling in love with, felt right for the character. And I don't think it didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel like they pushed it or forced it upon us and the character. So, I like that progression and the arc that they gave him for the series. So it'll be interesting to see now that the way the series ended, how they then progress that character and that development next season.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And then, after this whole Miss Minutes, offering of the ruling or to be happy for Sylvie, again, we get this big reveal of Jonathan Majors being Kang the Conqueror, or being a version of Kang, he who remains, or Immortus, or whatever. Sanj, I mean, you watched Lovecraft Country, so you're used to Jonathan Majors acting. How'd you feel about his portrayal as Kang, or as he who remains?
I mean, obviously it was a completely different character than I'm used to seeing him play, because he's usually a more demure, more serious character, and here he was quite, jovial and extroverted. Um, so it was a real departure from what I'm used to seeing him play, and he did incredible as it. So he
Yeah.
shows that he really has this incredible range as an actor, and he really pulled it off very well.
Yeah, man. When people say captivating, that was what that
Yeah.
was, because I
Yeah,
couldn't keep my
that's a
eyes
great word.
off the screen and listening to the way that he was speaking, and the words he used and how he did it. But he also came off to me, as far as like the character in the movie or in the show here for Loki, as someone who really does just know what's going to happen, what's going on. Now, Brandon, as far as you know a lot about the comic book history and a lot about the comic book lore. This version of He Who Remains kind of works with this kind of way of being introducing Kang. What was your thoughts on him and his portrayal of Kang?
I thought it was awesome. Like he plays a dual role here, because the actual Kang character, just like he explained, spans the multiverse. There are different incarnations of him. So every version of Kang is essentially Nathaniel Richards. But every one of them has a different motive, has a different personality, different way of thinking, whatever it may be. So this one, like you guys were saying, this one is the Immortus take on Nathaniel Richards, as opposed to the Kang the Conqueror take on Nathaniel Richards. So, this one, he played Immortus, really well, and because Immortus was very, not jovial, like kind of like how he portrayed it today, but very like astute, very much like witty about his knowledge of the timeline, very much like how he did it here. So I love this portrayal and the kind of way he set up the potential for other Kangs. I have a theory on that, but the potential of Kang the Conqueror, coming to the Marvel Universe, I have a feeling that we're going to see multiple versions of Kang in the series and in the movies going forward. Just because, like, my thinking about Ant-Man, I can't see Ant-Man fighting Kang the Conqueror. But what I feel is going to happen is, in his Quantumania, he's going to meet a version of Nathaniel Richards that fits the personality of what Ant-Man, kind of the personality of those movies kind of portray. Because Ant-Man's never been a serious type movie, so I can't see Kang the Conqueror showing up, and Ant-Man's got to be the one, like Paul Rudd and Ant-Man. I mean, Paul Rudd and Kang, like, so like, I feel like we're going to see multiple versions of Kang be put into certain situations in certain movies. Like season 2, this could possibly be a Kang the Conqueror showing up, or maybe just a different Conqueror version of Kang or Nathaniel Richards. Whereas we might see a different one in this movie, a different one in this show, leading up to the Kang the Conqueror.
Brandon, you putting money on Kang being shown in Eternals?
I'll put $10. I'm gonna be safe. $10.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that they set up so lovely, without showing or doing anything, was when he said, "What do you fear?" and he goes, "Me." I mean, Al, man, that's powerful in itself, man.
Yeah.
So what is your thoughts there? Because, they give the explainer of how all these different Kangs are all over the place and everything like that. What do you think of the explainer and his fear for himself, or fear of himself?
You know what? Considering that, as I think I said earlier, I knew nothing of Kang the Conqueror. So to hear that explainer, I think in my opinion, they did a good job, because I was able to understand the character right from that brief exposition.
Yeah.
You know, he made reference to the Council of Kings and how they teamed up to get rid of the ones that were trying to take over. Like the way he went over everything that happened between the different versions of himself made me understand what was going on. How did it even lead up to him just remaining and so forth. So, and it made me wonder, kind of like what Brandon was saying, are we going to see multiple versions of him, not only in series, but in the actual movies or whatever? Like in Ant-Man, are we going to have a Kang the Conqueror and one of these benevolent Kangs that are trying to get rid of Kang the Conqueror? Like, are we going to have multiple Kangs in the same movie? So this character, even though I don't believe he has any kind of superpowers himself, other than knowing the intricacies of the multiple timelines, it opens up so many possibilities because there's so many versions of him.
Gotcha. And Sanj, besides Kang, one of the good things about this episode is Sylvie and Loki's relationship in there. What was your thoughts about their way that they handled everything as far as like listening to what Kang was throwing at them, and then the overall outcome of them pretty much splitting up and Sylvie doing her own damn thing?
Well, I wasn't surprised by Sylvie, really sticking to her guns and following through with what she'd been trying to do for, her entire life, basically. So I was not surprised by that at all. But the fact that they had them actually kiss did like kind of bend my mind a little bit, because they're both Lokis, you know? So then, like, obviously, what's the next thought that you have? Of course, if I met an alternate female version of myself, and the answer is like, yeah, I would smash.
Oh no. You're so crazy. I love it. Yeah, that definitely weirded me out, man. I thought my TV was gonna bend.
That's the question you were asking. So I mean, I'm gonna answer it that way. I know what you were asking. So
I just found it very crazy and interesting that they were building this relationship since episode 3. I think that third episode where they were on Lamentus, where they were building that relationship and they ended up trusting each other. Episode 4, they spent together 5 trying to basically get together and find each other to do this thing. And then episode 6, I'm like, damn, that was pretty fast. But then when I think about it, she's been wanting this her whole life.
yeah.
And here Loki is trying to talk to her, convince her to do otherwise, even though Loki had a point. And I wondered to myself, like, what would I do in that situation if I were in those shoes right there? This guy's telling me either just end me and control what's going to happen that's uncontrollable with all these Kangs coming, or go back and you run the TVA now. Brandon, which one are you doing?
I think Loki put it the best. He was just like, I'm with you. He was like, but there's something potentially worse than that guy. So I think I would be on the side of hesitancy. Because like even the way he said it, he was like, there's something worse than that guy.
Yeah, man, very crazy. And then also something we saw in the episode there, B, was we saw actual where that pen came from that we were looking at in the trophy room of Renslayer's office there, and it ends up being that she is a principal of a school in Ohio. And I didn't think there was anything major that came from that or anything interesting, but it does seem like all the TVA agents were going to find out that they're all variants.
Yeah,
all is that null and void now, huh?
That's the one thing that I hope wasn't wasted time, because like I thought it was a really good push that, especially it was in this episode where they pushed for everyone to understand that TVA was all lies and fake, and then all of a sudden it's gone. My assumption is that there may be now a new universe within a multiverse. So in one universe with the TVA, they are finding out things are happening, and then where Loki is right now, there's a new Kang in charge kind of a thing. So I mean, but I thought the TVA was kind of at the edge of all, but I feel like it could exist in multiverses. So I mean, considering, so
Maybe
my thinking is that
maybe they
by
exist
that
sometime somewhere outside of like space and time.
that's what I thought. But
Mhm.
my assumption is that by Sylvie killing this multiverse is Kang, or this universe is Kang, that Loki got sent to another version of the universe
Mm.
or another
Yeah.
multiverse.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna ask you guys that now. So, Alan Sanz, man, I'll go to you first on this one, man. Is like, what's your thoughts on what's actually happened? Because after this, reveal of Renslayer being a principal, she pretty much walks off the episode from there, and we don't see her. And then what ends up happening again? Sylvie kills Kang, or
Mhm.
he who remains, and which causes the multiverse timeline there to start to expand and go crazy. And Loki goes back. She Sylvie pushes Loki back into in one of those like portals, and he goes
Mhm.
back to the TVA, but it's not the TVA that he knows.
Yeah.
So what in the hell is happening here, Al?
Well, that's I think everything like Brandon was saying. I think because if you remember at that point, he who remained, they had already passed the point where he knew what was going to happen, and when you looked out to the timeline, it had started to branch. So I think when Sylvie pushed Loki through the portal, she inadvertently pushed him out to a branch. So I think it was one of these branches where the King the Conqueror variant was the one running the TVA.
Yeah.
So the one that I'm curious as to where she went was Renslayer, like because she said she was in pursuit of free will. So what does that mean? Like, where was she going? And she was going with information given to her by He Who Remains. So, where did he send her? And especially since it looked like he wanted this to happen. For someone who is cutting off all these branches so that he stayed in charge and all these variants stayed in check, he seemed to enjoy getting killed by Sylvie, like as if he wanted the variants to come. So
He
I don't
winked at
know.
her. See you
Yeah,
soon.
yeah. So that's why I'm like, I'm curious where where this is going. Does it need, kind of like what Mobius said in one of the episodes? It has to happen because this is how it always has happened. So does she need to kill him in order to create him? So I don't, it's a weird dynamic, especially when you talk about time. So just curious to see where they go and where they take it.
Yeah, Sanj, how about yourself, man? What's your thoughts on the way that everything wrapped up at the end there?
It is a little confusing. But
Mhm.
picking up on what Al was saying, there's like how he seemed to, he who remains seemed to like enjoy, passing it off or enjoy seeing the work he's been doing undone. But he really said a few times in there about how long he's been doing. He didn't say exactly how long, but you kind of get the idea that he's been at it for maybe thousands of years. It sounds like, and he started out as like a regular human being. So for him, like understanding that amount of time to be alone, right? Had to wear on him. So maybe he finally got to the point where he realized you can't I can't control this. This isn't something that just needs to happen that way, and this is how things are just supposed to happen. And there's a kind of ecstasy in that letting go of that, of that responsibility and that pressure on you. And now he
Yeah.
can kind of just like, just be or end being, you know.
Gotcha, man. And then I guess the last thing to ask you guys about Loki is like your overall thoughts on the series there. We got 6 episodes of this, and I gotta tell you guys the quality of the shows, WandaVision, Captain and the no, sorry, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, who then became Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And, with Loki, they were supposed to be like these TV series. And the first thing I went to was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter and kind of things. And to me, dude, these things were actually like long movies. It doesn't really come off like a TV series. So, like, Brandon, what's your thoughts on the series and the quality of it that we gotten from Marvel regarding these little shows?
I think Marvel has done a really good job of taking the big screen and moving it to the small screen and making it feel like one and the same. Like WandaVision felt like a long movie, and I understand why it couldn't be in the theaters because it was 6 hours long, but I got a story that was like when you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's episodic in nature, where this episode focuses on this problem that they have to solve, and then the next episode maybe it's part one or part two, but there's a problem, a solution, and they move on. Whereas this series, and all the series have focused on, here's the problem, and we're taking all this to find the solution. And
there's
maybe
lots of moving parts to it.
yeah, just a lot of moving parts, a lot of characters, a lot of deep dive into the characters, into the story. So they've done a great job of taking that big screen, and just putting it on your TV. Now you can watch our movies broken down. So you have this full, complete story. I mean, Loki has a season 2 now, but you have a full story that you can digest and really get a breadth of story out of it, from the Falcon, then the Captain America and Winter Soldier, how that story had its main roots and saw its way through the end. Whereas Loki, I'm sure, is going to, it's go into season 2 and then probably lead into a movie. But when we have Miss Marvel coming up, She-Hulk, Moon Knight, I feel like those are going to be great projects that will feel like movies that do the same thing, tell a story over the span of X amount of episodes that make you really feel like you're invested in these characters and in this story itself.
Gotcha, man. Al, man, your thoughts on the quality of these shows and also, Loki season 1 there?
The quality's been great, and in a way they had to do it, because unlike Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which never really impacted the movies, like you never saw any of the characters from the shows carry over to the movies, whereas now they're making shows out of characters from the movies, so they had to bring that quality over, only because that was going to then tie back into whatever was happening later in the movies. So they, like, in a way, they kind of, for lack of a better expression, painted themselves into a corner of making sure that these were high-level shows, only because whatever you did here was going to impact the movie franchises. So, but in a way, I'm glad that they did it, because it gave us some great shows. And like Brandon said, it prevented them from doing something episodic where if you missed one episode, it didn't matter because, oh, okay, that story didn't impact the next episode. So it made you enthralled, and it made you have to see every episode. Like, okay, I can't see 3 until I see 2. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I like that. And I hope they can keep the trend going with the second season and with all these other new shows coming.
Gotcha. Sanj, yourself, man, your thoughts on the quality of these MCU movies or TV shows? I'm sorry.
So, I mean, remember at the beginning of Loki, we were saying like this one, it really took a little bit more to get us, going and get us enthralled into it, because we kind of really were excited about WandaVision, really were excited about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I mean, if you go back a few of our own episodes, like we'll talk about, like, yeah, it really wasn't catching us at first. Like, what are they kind of doing with it and whatever. But the way they the way they plotted out the story, then it kind of really drew you in little by little, and before you knew it, you were like so into the story. I think one of the things with Loki, especially with the great character development for him, but I just still think even as much as Loki has evolved and developed, the only person he was able to find true intimacy with is a version of himself. Right, like, so it's just so he's still Loki in that sense, right? Like he hasn't had a complete overhaul, but as far as the quality of the series, I mean, they are movies, they're broken down, and we've talked a lot about format and like with the decline of theaters and like how are we, what are theaters going to do, how are they going to keep us coming back, or even Marvel, right? We saw articles starting to come out or news starting to come out about exhaustion, like superhero movie exhaustion, because they used the theaters to build up their characters, and like tons of individual movies for individual characters to build up their story, build up their background, and then build us up to these big events, right? Now they've switched, it's like almost like they're ahead of us in keeping our attention, right? They know that we have short attention spans. So now they flipped their whole format to they're going to develop the characters in these series and keep us coming back to, on a weekly basis, to develop the characters and develop the big story on the small screen, and then bring us to the big screen for the big events, right? You know, so it's just genius the way they're going about it, and they're getting us to pay a monthly fee, you know, for it,
Yeah,
right?
man. Because sometimes I wonder, like, is this worth it for them? I mean, I'm glad we're getting it, but Jesus, it's movie qualities for 6 hours, and you get these stories from WandaVision and Loki and Falcon there and the Winter
I just
Soldier.
wonder how the continuity, for people who aren't the biggest fans or so, how that would work with the movies. Like, I'm thinking right now about Ant-Man 3, and if Jonathan Majors is going to be in it, for those people who didn't watch Loki, maybe they're younger kids or whatever, and they go see Ant-Man, how will that continuity be explained? Especially, like, the Falcon is going to be Captain America in Captain America 4, so I wonder how Marvel's going to approach that matter with people who possibly haven't seen these shows.
Yeah, I thought about that, man, and you got to realize this: they killed off He Who Remains. So
Yeah.
anyone watching Ant-Man, they don't know any better.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I do,
Yeah.
I have a middle schooler. The kids are watching,
Yeah.
so the kids know the stories,
Yeah.
all the way down to like age, I would say at least 10 and above. These kids know the stories, and I would dare say most of them, from 8 and above, probably know the story as well.
It's crazy what Marvel's doing, man. It really is
Yeah.
crazy what they're doing.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, and then the last question I got for you guys today, man, because we got the post-credit scene of a stamp, Loki episode 2 coming, or Loki coming back for a season 2.
And 2, yeah.
Al, what's your thoughts on what do you expect to see in Loki season 2, or what they're going to be talking about?
Well, first of all, I was surprised that they extended it for a second season. I thought these were all going to be one-off shows, just interacting with the next series of movies, and then as the next, phase played out, we'd get a new set of series based on new characters introduced. But to hear a second season, I'm expecting that they're going to bring back where did Renslayer go, how did whatever she did play out, what effects did it have, and then the repercussions of that, and Loki dealing with that. So for example, he's in a dimension or a time where they don't know. They thought he was an analyst when he came out. So just seeing how that plays out, and him dealing and correcting, so to speak, and finding Sylvie, I guess, back.
Sanj, how about yourself, man? What do you expect to see in a Loki season 2, or what would you want to see?
Well, I think so. What it signals to me is that regardless of what happens in, the Doctor Strange movie, that Loki will still have a part to play after that. So it looks like they're gonna, whatever it is, he's gonna have a huge role, or she's gonna have a huge role, in whatever happens after that. So that's to me, that's where season 2 would go, the aftermath of the big event.
Right. And Brandon, yourself, man, Loki season 2.
I feel like this one is more so gonna be telling the events of what's gonna happen in Marvel going forward. Like, I felt like we were under the assumption that WandaVision was gonna be the thing that really leads us into Doctor Strange and this multiverse of madness, but I feel like it's gonna be this Loki show that really sets off the big change in the phase and the phases to come, because I feel like while I feel like the branching of the timeline thing is going to lead to what happens in Doctor Strange, but I don't feel like the problem is solved there. I feel like there's an overarching problem in his movie that happens to do with this, but I feel like it's going to be in Loki season 2 where this problem is fully realized into what materializes as the conflict for the next couple phases.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm only expecting to see a resolution to what happened to Renslayer, where she went and where she go to do what, because they left that off like cold. She just walked off and that was it. So I would love to see something about where she's doing, where she's going. The fact, like Al said, when Mobius saw Loki, he didn't even know who he was, when all he did was chase Loki's in the previous timeline. So to see what happens, because to me, if there's a Loki season 2, and it's not going to be before Doctor Strange, then is this problem going to be resolved in Doctor Strange in this multiverse of madness? You know what I mean? So it's going to be, is how long is this multiverse thing going to last? Is this going to be the through line through phase 4, 5, and God knows when? So just very interested to see the story play out, and of course looking to see what happens with Spider-Man No Way Home, the multiverse of madness. I don't think it's going to really play an effect with the Eternals, but maybe this is the situation that brought them out. You know what I mean? They said they didn't come out for Thanos. They didn't come out for
They came out because of Loki.
Soldier. They came out because of the multiverse.
Because Loki done fucked up.
Yeah, man. So I'm interested in seeing how far this goes, and we got Shang-Chi coming out soon. So hopefully that'll be something else that we see some kind of like effect from it, or just a good story. So looking forward to Loki and all Marvel stuff. Honestly, man, can't wait to see the rest of it, man. But guys, that's gonna be us for tonight. We thank you guys for listening, watching on YouTube and on your playlist there for your podcast. If you are not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button below. Or if you're listening to us on a podcast, smash that subscribe button and the like button too, please. But on your podcast, there's like a plus symbol that you can add us to be someone that we pops up every week when we put out a podcast. And again, we keep seeing the numbers rise up as far as the amount of subscribers and listeners. So we thank you guys. I think right now on YouTube we have like almost 60, and then on the podcast we got like 30. So we almost got like 100 people listening to us, man, which is amazing. So
thanks,
guys,
Mom.
thank you. Thank you, family and friends. France, we love you. France is a consistent listener over there, wherever you are in France. Yeah, man. So thank you guys so much, and we'll be back next week where we'll be reviewing the Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins movie. So that's gonna be awesome, man, to talk about Snake Eyes next week. And any news that comes up that's really big, we'll talk about it next week as well. So coming out of Long Island, New York, we got our man in the chair, Al.
Have a good night, everybody.
We got Sanj.
Live long and prosper.
We got my brother B.
Adios, everybody.
And myself, Hav, again saying thank you so much for listening and watching. We'll catch you guys on the next episode next week. Until next time.